Hello everyone, welcome back to S.A.S videos by Stock Market Astrology Stats. Today, we will share some fun and insightful stats on the stock market experience of people on curated data, based on their Rahu position in all houses in natal chart. First of all, we want to inform you that all contents shared are only for entertainment of general public. Contents are not to be considered as any sort of recommendation or advice. This video is not intended to promote any actions in capital market. Also, all data that is used in this video are publicly shared data with S.A.S team and are subjected to lot of noise and errors. No private data of any person is fetched or will be shared through channel. So let's begin with stats for Rahu. This chart shows the cumulative returns of all houses for quick check and comparison. We were able to collect about 670 plus records and returns until first week of April, 2022. Not everyone are completely sure about their planet positions or the current investment performance. Some people just shared their approximate date of birth and we had to calculate it using software. Regarding their stock market performance, mostly it's a ballpark figure from their memory. We have also averaged out numerical values to round figures for simplicity. So, what's the overall stats for Rahu in all houses? The best 4 houses are the first house with 18.5% return, 8th house with 17.5% return, and both 4th and 5th house with 16% return. The difference between houses are narrow. It shows us the insight that performance of masses are not very far off from the performance of benchmark indices. The last 3 houses are the 3rd house with 7.5% return, 11th with 8.5% and the 7th house with 9.5% return. Why did people with these 3 positions had such underperformance on bulk data? Honestly, we don't know. Now, this may not mean that people with Rahu in these 3 positions will not get good returns in stock market. There is huge volatility and position of remaining planets may also make big difference in returns. In certain cases, due to some big overperformance or underperformance of few records, the overall performance of the house gets averaged down or averaged up. The overall stats for Rahu has been quite a lot of surprises. Nobody here at S.A.S videos expected to see 1st and 8th house on top. And even bigger surprise was, nobody expected 3rd and 11th house to come at last 2 places. This is one beauty of collecting data and running some simple stats. The performance of remaining houses were to a large extent in line with expectation. One of our colleagues said, 3rd is where Rahu is naturally exalted. So 3rd coming at last signifies, stock market is a long-term game. So good positioning of Rahu in 3rd gives no additional benefit in stock markets. Similarly 11th is natural co-ruling for Rahu. Yet 11th was 2nd worst performing house. Our second colleague remarked, speed has become a big advantage in modern stock markets. We are living in a world of high-frequency trading and algo trading. So, naturally people with Rahu in 1st house, with the ability to take impulsive and good quality decisions has become stronger in stock markets. We checked this remark and found that 3 high-frequency and algo traders had Rahu in 1st house. And over the last 4 years, they had excellent performance, pushing overall average performance of 1st house upwards. Now let's move on to see some stats related to each individual house. Rahu in the 1st house. We recorded 65 plus entries for this position. On average, people with this position clocked about 19% return. This is the best performing house. The average age at which they joined stock market is 24. So these people are very quick to join stock markets. At 100%, most people are satisfied, with very few ups and downs. Rahu in the 2nd house. We recorded 55 plus entries for this position. On average, people with this position clocked about 15% return. This is an above normal return. The average age at which they joined stock market is 26. When it comes to satisfaction, we got a 75% value. which is okay. Rahu in the 3rd house. We recorded 55 plus entries for this position. On average, people with this position clocked about 7.5% return. This is the worst performing house in records. Similar to 2nd, the average age at which they joined stock market is 26. At 50%, only half of the people are satisfied with their stock market experience. This is understandable, considering surprise underperformance of 3rd house. Rahu in the 4th house. We recorded 65 plus entries for this position. On average, people with this position clocked about 16% return. This is the 3rd best performing house, along with 5th. Honestly, nobody expected to see 4th house at 3rd spot. Real world is full of surprises. The average age at which they joined stock market is 25. So, they are also quicker to join stock markets. At 100%, most are satisfied, with very few exceptions. Few ups, cancelling out, few downs. Rahu in the 5th house. We recorded 55 plus entries for this position. On average, people with this position clocked about 16% return. This is also 3rd best performing house, along with 4th. The average age at which they joined stock market is 24. This house has the lowest average age along with 8th house. The latest surge in users joining stock market has pushed down average age for most houses including this one. At 115%, this house has the highest satisfaction level. People had better experience than they initially expected. Rahu in the 6th house. We recorded 55 plus entries for this position. On average, people with this position clocked about 14% return. This is an average return. The average age at which they joined stock market is 29. So these people join markets around late 20s and early 30s. Almost 70% people with this position are satisfied with their experience. Rahu in the 7th house. We recorded 60 plus entries for this position. On average, people with this position clocked about 9.5% return. This is the 3rd worst performing house. The average age at which they joined stock market is 30. So, they are a bit late to markets than other houses. Late joining can be one factor is subdued performance. As more time gives, more compounding benefits. Satisfaction level stands at 60%. Rahu in the 8th house. We recorded 55 plus entries for this position. On average, people with this position clocked about 18% return. This is the 2nd best performing house. The average age at which they joined stock market is 24. So, similar to 5th, they are also very quick to join stock markets. At 100%, most are satisfied, with few exceptions. Few ups, cancelling out, few downs and keeping bar at 100. Rahu in the 9th house. We recorded 65 plus entries for this position. On average, people with this position clocked about 12% return. That's an average return. The average age at which they joined stock market is 29. Bit late than normal. Again, even though returns are not that bad, satisfaction is only 70%. Rahu in the 10th house. We recorded 50 plus entries for this position. On average, people with this position clocked about 13% return. This is also a moderate return. There was a lot of hype and expectation around this house. But stats are not showing anything extraordinary. The average age at which they joined stock market is 26. Satisfaction level stands at 70%. Rahu in the 11th house. We recorded 65 plus entries for this position. On average, people with this position clocked about 8.5% return. This is the 2nd worst performing house. This did surprise many here as S.A.S videos. We don't know why such underperformance for 11th. As sometimes, there can be personal reasons, to which we are blind to. The average age at which they joined stock market is 25. At 45%, this house has the lowest satisfaction. Which is understandable, considering low returns figure. Rahu in the 12th house. We recorded 55 plus entries for this position. On average, people with this position clocked about 11% return. It's okay to normal performance. The average age at which they joined stock market is 30. So, they a bit late to markets compared to other houses. At 50%, only half of people are satisfied with this position. So, that's all for today from Stock Market Astrology Stats. See you all later in next video with stats for another planet in all houses. Till then, wishing everyone a good time. Thank you and God bless.